Welcome to Motion Talks, an ABB podcast created to encourage open conversation about what's driving change across industries and infrastructure. Hear from industry experts and thought leaders as we talk about the technological innovations and trends impacting these spaces. Want to learn what's shaping their sustainable transformation and growth? Then this is the place for you. I'm your host, Natalie from ABB in Australia, and I hope you enjoy this episode. We'll be unearthing a particularly important subject in today's episode. It's about new technologies enabling safe and sustainable waste recovery. My guest is Will Barker, who is based in New Zealand and has been involved in the development of good for the world technologies for over 10 years. He has broad experience in commercializing new technologies, including securing IP, capital raising, and building high performance teams. Will was previously VP of External Affairs at LanzaTech, where they were commercializing a biotechnology for converting steel mill waste gas to biofuels and biochemicals. He is currently the CEO of Mint Innovation, a company that's developed a technology for recovering precious metals from waste in a low cost and sustainable way. Will, welcome to Motion Talks.
Well, thank you very much, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is an incredibly interesting topic that I'm sure our audience is intrigued to learn more about. Can you start by telling us a little more about Mint Innovation and the process of smart recovery from the urban mine?
Sure thing, Natalie. Yeah. So I'll perhaps start with what the urban mine is. So the urban mine is essentially everything we throw away. You know, as the urbanization as produces an awful lot of waste materials, and it's what gets tipped into the ground in landfill. Now, I think everybody knows that a lot of waste has value attached to it, whether it's carbon value, food waste has carbon value, or plastic value, and quite often there's metals attached to quite a lot of the waste that gets thrown away. We're particularly interested in those metallic fractions of the urban mine, in particular electronic waste, automotive waste, and some medical waste. We particularly focus on electronic waste in the first instance. That contains a lot of gold, a lot of palladium, a lot of copper, and other valuable metals. Now, unfortunately for us, unfortunately for us as people, the westernized kind of countries are throwing away about 20 kilograms of electronic waste on an annual basis, and a lot of that's going into landfill. And of course, these all contain those metals, and essentially those metals are lost from the economy for good. So what we're doing, what we've developed, is a very low-cost, scalable approach to recover those metals from the urban mine, so that they can be recycled back into the economy. We use a microorganism that is able to selectively concentrate metals. So we collect the metals, or we collect the materials from the urban mine, and we use a microorganism to go into those complex environments, grab the metals of interest, and because microorganisms have got mass, you can take them out again. So you've got this very low cost way of selectively concentrating metals of interest. Offers obviously a number of benefits. For example, it's low carbon. It is very, very cost effective, and it's entirely scalable. So it means that you can deploy a plant into a local environment, into a city where the waste is already collected, rather than having to landfill it or export it hundreds or thousands of miles for recovery. Obviously, has circular economy benefits, but also, it's doing the right thing. We shouldn't be shipping our waste offshore to developing nations where people are killing themselves and the environment for small amounts of scrap metal.
20 plus kilos of discarded e-waste is a huge number, isn't it? And I know the UN equates this to at least 10 billion US dollars per year, not to mention what it does in terms of polluting the planet, as you alluded to already. And Will, I was able to connect with you via the World Economic Forum, which ABB is a proud partner of. And the forum has had lots of activity around their Circular Accelerators 2021 program in recent weeks, of which Mint Innovation has been selected to be a part of. Huge congratulations on such a substantial recognition. Can you tell us a little more about what that means to you and what the program involves?
Sure thing. So yeah, and thanks for the recognition. No, we really appreciate the kudos that this very very important organisation gives us. Now, the circular economy is effectively returning waste materials or returning valuable materials that are collected from waste. So right up our alley. That's what we've been. That's why we set up the company. That's essentially what we're doing that's our piece of the puzzle. Um, the important thing is being able to collect those value fractions in the urban environment. So waste is created in an urban environment, and the challenge for us and a lot of up and coming companies is collecting that waste, recovering that value in those urban environments. And of course, our technology is well suited for that. Um, the real benefits there is we're mitigating the export of what's essentially a very very low value material. We're mitigating the landfilling of hazardous material, and the double benefit, the added benefit is we're returning those valuable resources back into the local economy. So we're returning gold, we're returning palladium, we're returning copper back into a local economy for reuse. The real key here, the real key to making it successful is having that low cost approach that does enable you to do it at a local level, at an urban level, a city scale level, if you like. The great thing about recognition through the Circulars Accelerator is we get to work with people like you, people like ABB. It's a great networking opportunity. The companies that really care about circular economy and waste mitigation are all involved and well connected with Circular. So it gives us access to the real thought leaders in the local economy. So no, fantastic for us.
All really essential elements to address in terms of reducing the amount of gases released into the atmosphere because of existing waste disposal processes, but also returning those valuable resources back into the local economy. And all of that has huge potential to help overturn the extent of existing problems, like those countries where there are no collection systems at all. And Will, as we've chatted about in recent weeks, this is an especially pivotal topic for me since ABB is also trying to support more sustainable mining practices by helping our customers to reduce environmental impact with more energy efficient technologies. So, for example, our variable speed drives for electric motors can reduce electricity consumption by up to 25%. Do you see any synergies here with Mint Innovation's developed processes?
Yeah, absolutely. We've essentially developed a technology for the low carbon selective concentration of precious metals. Um, we do focus on printed circuit boards in the first instance, electronic waste in the first instance. We absolutely see this as a low hanging fruit because these are collected in an urban environment, and so they're already kind of there and available, ready for processing. But we do see this as a technology that can be extended through many different platforms. We see printed circuit boards, we see catalytic converters, we see medical waste, and a lot of other waste streams. But we also see the value of bringing our technology into the mining sector as well. Essentially, all we've got here is a low cost, low carbon way of concentrating metals, which that's mining. And we did start our journey, but kind of focus on that direction, but kind of pivoted a little bit to the circuit board opportunity, just because it is a lower hanging fruit, if you like. But I think as we develop, as we get through our development process, and don't forget we're a pretty early stage company still, as we get through our development program, we will absolutely return our attention to mining and start looking at the metals that we can use. Uh, we're in a world now where mining resources, we're targeting scarcer and scarcer reserves. I remember, I don't remember, I'm not that old, but 100 years ago, mine tailings used to contain hundreds of grams of gold per ton. Nowadays, they contain 3 or 4 grams if you're lucky. So we're constantly battling this kind of this lowering concentration curve, if you like. We're battling at a challenging economic end of the curve, and our technology and other technologies are all there to assist low carbon, low toxicity processes for selectively concentrating metals of interest. So I think that's is definitely the future.
Yes, absolutely. We've spoken a bit about the concept of a circular economy already as a system for minimizing waste and encouraging the continual use of resources. In addressing why we should all care about promoting this type of an economic system, can you tell us your own thoughts on this topic and also how mint technology differs to biotech processes currently used in mining as a way of supporting this?
Yeah, look, you guys do have a bias for mining, but I think everybody recognises that mining has its place. But if we're able to make mining more efficient, or if we're able to recycle more of materials prior to them ending up on the scrap heap, if you like, then we do absolutely make a better world for ourselves to live in. I think it's estimated about 81% of all the identified gold is already above the ground. So if we're able to effectively return that gold and those materials back into economy, then particularly the lower energy way that we're doing it, then everybody wins. The challenges with a lot of the mining processes is we end up using more and more energy to go after decreasing amounts of volumes and titles of precious metals. And again, if we're able to develop lower energy methods of selectively concentrating those metals, then again, everybody wins. Following that up, you're absolutely right. Our process is slightly different to the biotech solutions that currently exist in mining. Those solutions are they're essentially low carbon ways of dissolving metals. And those metals are then recovered using conventional techniques. What we do is we use our microorganism to selectively concentrate. So rather than dissolving, we're selectively concentrating. So it's absolutely consistent with those processes and can be used with those processes, but it works in a slightly different way. So there's a slight hurdle for us to overcome in the understanding and the uptake in the mining industry.
Mhm. And well, what is the current status of your technology and what are your immediate growth plans?
Yep. So currently we're kind of a stereotypical venture-funded technology company. We started small. We started doing experimenting in test tubes 4 or 5 years ago, and have effectively developed this very low-cost way of selectively recovering metals in the test tube. As we've kind of gone through our journey, we've raised venture-backed capital. And grown to a size now where we've essentially taken a test tube and gone up to ton scale. So we take a ton of material at a time and recover the metals from those materials. The next step for us, and we just closed a financing round for $20 million. The next step for us is to take this into an urban environment and recover the waste from the waste recover the value from the waste that's collected in those urban environments. So we're bringing a plant into Australia essentially now, and we start building shortly, and we'll have that brought online by the end of the year. From there, as I said previously, we're looking to extend the platform, so looking at opportunities beyond circuit boards, catalytic converters, mining tailings, medical waste, those sorts of things, and also looking to deploy across the world. This is a solution that makes sense in today's economic and kind of social economy, and so looking to get it out there and start saving significant amounts of carbon in producing these metals.
Really exciting to hear that your team has been able to step out of that traditional lab, expand your efforts, and be even more precise in your deployment strategy. And those significant partnerships already established to scale quickly are pivotal as well, I'm sure. Um, Now, I wanted to chat a bit about the recent news that came out about the Minerals Council of Australia rolling out a towards sustainable mining system as a new reporting standard to ensure the likes of BHP and Rio Tinto, to name a few, are meeting their environmental, social, and governance obligations. Do you think that Mint Innovations Technologies could have a place in helping some of Australia's biggest mining companies adopt some of these new standards to ensure that they're meeting their environmental targets?
Yeah, absolutely. Mining's challenged in that regard. It's going to be a tough road for the mining industry to meet a lot of these targets, and it's going to require new technology. It's going to require a suite of new technologies. I think ours is well placed to be one of those technologies, and I'd love to you know discuss more, work out how it could be. But just as an example, we've had an independent life cycle analysis conducted. We had a university take a cradle to grave approach for a kilogram of gold. If you were to dig a kilogram of gold out of the ground and refine it using mining, conventional mining, versus our recycling approach, where we recover a kilogram of gold from printed circuit boards, and we basically compared to side by side comparison with mining, we're 10 times more carbon efficient. We use 40 times less power, 40 times less water, and produce 250 times less waste. So if we are able to apply this into a mining context, those similar savings can be made. And that's going to have a substantial positive effect on the long-term viability, particularly as those concentrations of gold, of other metals, decrease, and becomes more challenging to dig out of the ground.
Truly consequential figures there, and certainly highlighting tangible ways to help those major mining companies meet their environmental targets. So, Will, looking to share your insight. If you had to give one key piece of advice to companies thinking of implementing a truly circular solution in their operations, but who are currently hesitating because perhaps they're still a bit unsure about the significance of it, what would that key piece of advice be?
Yeah, look, just do it. I think the challenge with a lot of sustainable or circular economy type technologies is that they've got to stack up economically, and that the carbon efficiency, the waste mitigation is rarely calculated into into that kind of economic model. And until there's I guess regulation or government mandates that does get calculated in, we're always going to look at the bottom line of when we're calculating whether or not assessing whether or not to implement the technology. In reality, that is going to come, but it's important that we all take a leadership position and implement what we can. But equally, it's important for the developers, the technologists like myself, who are looking to develop new technologies and meaningful technology that can be implemented, is we take notice of industry, and we recognise that the bottom line is the most important thing for now, and so that any technologies that we develop, um, they are competitive with existing conventional dirtier processes, and in actual fact, you can make more money and be cleaner at the same time. So it's a yin and yang thing. The companies, big companies, particularly big mining corporations, those sorts of, they've got to take a leadership position. The tech developers like ourselves, we've got to pay attention to what their needs are, and the big driving need is always the bottom line, and it's got to be driven by a sensible economic model, and that's what we do. And I think there's a lot of companies in our space that are doing very similar things.
Really great advice. Don't be discouraged by what's different. Recognize the vast importance of this regenerative design. And like you say, just do it. In closing, how can people connect with you to find out more information?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we've got a website. We're a New Zealand company, and we've got a facility in Auckland, which is somewhat challenging with closed borders, but we are now deploying in Australia. So have the opportunity to, I guess, broaden our reach a little bit. But first up, contact us through take a look at our website. We've also got a bunch of material that kind of outlines our process in more detail. I'd be happy to share. The website's www.mint.bio. That's mint.bio, a little unusual. Or you can connect directly with me. I'm Will at mint.bio. No .com, no nothing. It's just .bio.
Perfect. It was great to speak with you today about such an important topic and also to learn more about how Mint Innovations technologies are recovering valuable metals in a low cost and sustainable way. Best of luck with all the exciting
Thank you very
impending
much.
ventures. And thanks again, Will, for being a part of Motion Talks.
Brilliant. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you ever so much.